Hey guys, what is going on? I hope you're all doing very well. Welcome back to another video. Today we are doing something very different from normal, but it's also kind of similar. So the plan today is to download some old Minecraft clients, some of which do contain malware, so it should be an interesting video. Stay tuned. But before we get into the video, I have to shout out the legends that are my YouTube members. They make videos like this possible. So if you want to support the channel, please consider looking at the benefits down below. I really appreciate all of the support. Thank you. Anyways, that is enough rambling. Let's get into the video. Okay, so you might be wondering why I am doing this, and I don't really have a better answer than curiosity. I think it'll be cool to take a look at some old clients and some of the malware that's in them. Well, to be honest, only one client has malware in, but we'll get to that just now. And the second thing you might be wondering is how I am going to keep my computer safe. Running malware is not just a simple thing to do. My original plan was to host a virtual machine and then run the games in that virtual machine and record everything there, and then I could just delete the virtual machine after running malware, which in theory sounds like a good idea, but I wasn't able to get more than about 13 FPS while doing that. And I probably could have refined the system, downloaded some more drivers and got everything running, but I just couldn't be bothered. Hosting a virtual machine, playing games and recording all take a lot of system resources, and I couldn't get it to be a playable experience, so I decided to try something else. So my next idea was to create a bootable USB device, and I actually spent a lot more hours than I'd like to admit trying to get the Tails operating system to run. If you haven't heard of Tails, it is a privacy-focused operating system based on Linux, and basically the premise of it is that every time, well, it has a few features, but the main premise of it is that every time you start your computer, you start a session, and everything you do in that session is exclusive to that session. So if you download Minecraft, if you download Google Chrome, and then you turn off your computer and you turn it back on, everything you did in that session will be deleted. So the next time you start up your computer, you'll start from a fresh operating system. And to me, this sounded like a good idea. If I ran malware and then the next time I start up my computer, it's deleted, it just sounded like something that would work. But unfortunately, I found out the hard way that Tails is not a very good operating system for gaming. So then I moved on to plan C, which was creating a bootable USB with the Ubuntu operating system on it, and that is another Linux operating system, but it has a lot more support for gaming. After I created the bootable USB with Ubuntu, I took apart my computer and disconnected all of my hard drives. I then plugged the USB device into my computer and booted into Ubuntu. I then downloaded MultiMC and I had to sign into my account so that I could play. This is the only account that I am going to sign into on this operating system, and I have also set up a temporary password for the account. As soon as I'm finished with this video, I'm going to change the password again, and this way I should be all fully secure. Well, we hope I'll be fully secure. Now that I've told you how I am keeping my computer safe, it is probably important to tell you that this is all likely overkill. Most of these clients are years and years old. Some of them date back to like 2011, I think. So the chances of the malware still being active are quite unlikely, though still not impossible. So it's always best to just treat the malware as if it were a real threat, which it might be. I don't believe it is in this case. I'll get into that later. Huge shout out to Doogie, who has sent me all of these clients. Well, not all of them, but the majority of them. He also spent some time helping me install them and everything, so much appreciate that. I will not be providing download links to any of these clients. I just don't feel like that's a good idea. But thanks Doogie for supplying the goods. So here are some of the clients that we're going to take a look at today. We have a few versions of Exeter, we have the KiLAB client, we have an old version of Impact, we have Infinity client which contains the malware, we have Picka Client, we have RusherHack, or a cracked version of RusherHack, we have a client known as Tomato, and one more known as Virtue. To start, let's take a look at the Picka Client. This is for Minecraft Beta 1.7.3, as you can see, and I believe that version released in 2011. So I'm not sure when the actual client came out or when the client was made, but I'd assume it was in 2011 when this version released. You'll notice how basic this version of Minecraft is. I don't think you can even sprint. So it's crazy to see that there's hack clients for versions of Minecraft where you can't even sprint. Unless I just don't have it keybind, but I don't think you can sprint. While it may look like there's a GUI that you can click and it may look similar to modern clients, there's actually no way to interact with it. As you can see, each module has a listed keybind. I'm not even sure if you can change that, but you can, for example, press O and then whether is enabled or disabled if you click it again. But the keybinds, as far as I know, are just built in. So it's either enabled or disabled, and you can't, there's no way to click and drag or do anything. So I myself never actually played in this version of Minecraft back in the day. I think I only bought Minecraft in like 2014 or 2015. So it's interesting to see an old version of Minecraft, but it's even more interesting to me that there were hack clients that existed back then. Well, I assume they existed back then. I'm not too sure on the exact dates. But it's interesting that there's clients that can let you do Fulbright, for example, or slow fly is in. Okay, that just doesn't work. You can fly around like FreeCam, but unlike modern FreeCam, if you go into the ground, you take damage. So it's not quite as good as modern clients, I'd say. So I don't really know what to test or what to do with these old clients. I think it's kind of cool that they exist and that they are somewhat usable. But yeah, I think let's go take a look at some of the other clients. Now let's take a look at Infinity, which is also for Minecraft Beta 1.7.3. And this is the client that contains malware. Look at the old logo, that's crazy. Okay, this actually looks pretty cool for Minecraft Beta. I have not tested this at all, so it'll be interesting to see what it's like. Before I speak about the malware that is within this client, let's take a look at its GUI. And you can see this client actually has a GUI where you can move your mouse around and enable or disable things. I am not sure how you do keybinds. Let's try use Jesus. That does actually kind of work. I am not... You kind of, that's so funny. The old Jesus, you kind of like half in the water, half out. But I'm not sinking, and I can't sink if I try to. That's interesting. Okay, well, I guess it does kind of work. Okay, let's see what the flight module is like. Damn, that's quite fast. I love how none of these modules have settings either. It's kind of just like enabled or disabled. Like that's your only options. Let's try the FreeCam module. This looks better than the other clients so far. And I'm not actually taking damage if I go underground, and I can see more. So this is definitely much better, but you can see all the mobs are falling through the ground as well. I'm not sure why that is, but that's quite funny. I wonder if I do this and I stop FreeCam, do I take damage? Yeah, I do. That's quite funny. If I come out and then I disable it. Okay, that's quite funny. So unlike modern FreeCam where you just TP back to where you were, well, you don't actually leave where you were, you just visually go around. This client actually moves you around, which is quite funny. Speedy Gonzalez. That doesn't appear to be doing anything. I have no idea like what all these modules are or what they do. No render. Oh, that's quite nice. So you can tinker with quite a few things. Speed. Oh damn, okay, that's really cool. I mean like, oh, that's so weird. So back in the days of beta 1.7.3, we used to have the old Minecraft launcher, and it used to store your username and password, or sorry, your email and password in a text file in plain text. So the malware that was in this client used to just steal that information. The malware that was in this client is no longer a threat because the new modern Minecraft launcher does not store your information in plain text. So while it did have malware in it, it is no longer a threat. I think it's kind of funny that such an old client has malware in it. It's kind of foreshadowing for what was to come. Nowadays we hear about malware in clients all the time, and it's not really like crazy news anymore. So it was kind of foreshadowing of what was to come. Unfortunately, I can't get Virtue to run. I might come back to that just now, but it's not too important. This isn't even the original Virtue. This is a Team VPN skid of the Virtue client. So we might just give that a skip, and in the meantime, let's move on to the Tomato client. This is now on Minecraft 1.8.9, and this is Tomato 0.2. As you can see, it has an alt manager, but anyway, let's go into a new world and take a look at the client. So now you can see this client actually has a much more functional GUI, and this is actually very similar to the clients that we would see nowadays. Apparently the WWE client, now known as Inertia, skidded a module from this client. I believe it was the speed module, but that I find quite interesting. So you can see that the client has a lot of modules that we have nowadays, like criticals, autopot. Well, that's not so common in Anarchy clients, but like Fulbright, Beta Chat, name tags, ESP, these are all modules that we have in our modern clients. Jesus, Glide, it's quite interesting, but I don't like this GUI very much. First of all, it's not very colorful, and second of all, when you click on a module, there's no way to tell if it's enabled or not, besides for looking at this here. So this is more of what I expect when I think of the Jesus module. That other client, you sort of hovered like this, like halfway in the water. That tab GUI there looks awfully similar to like the future client, for example. Let's try the free cam. I wonder if this is going to be like the previous ones where you just end off where you started. Like if I go into this cave here. Oh, okay, interesting. You can kind of see the evolution of free cam there. The first one, you couldn't go through blocks without taking damage. The second one, you could go through blocks without taking damage, but where you ended your free cam was where your player ended up. And now this is like the modern free cam where you can go from your body here into the mountain, and when you stop free camming, you come back to here. Well, I complained about the client lacking color, and I guess that kind of counts. If we go simple or tomato theme, but you can see it's still a very, very basic client. I'm not going to stay on it for too long. I think we should move on to a different client. We are still on Minecraft version 1.8.9, and this is the Exeter Client, which has some interesting history. Okay, so I'm not actually sure if this client has a GUI. I'm not able to open it. If I do .bind click GUI P, it says that it has been bound to P, but if I press P, nothing opens. So I can't remember if this client has a GUI or not, but it's not too important. You can still do things like .toggle fly, for example, and then fly around. Okay, yeah, so I've messed around some more. I can't work out how to open the GUI. So I think this client is only controllable through commands. But anyways, this client is not too interesting because I can't get the GUI to work. So let's actually go take a look at a later version of Exeter for version 1.12.2. And this version has been reskinned to look like the future client. So you'll notice it's basically future client with less modules. So we are on Minecraft version 1.12.2, and this is Exeter version B23, and it has been reskinned to look like the future client. So it's not perfect, but it's very similar. And you can see that there are actually like no modules. Well, there's a few, but there are hardly any modules. So you can see how similar this client is to the future client. If I do this, you can see if I enable like tab GUI, it's basically the same as the future clients one. And I mean, even the way you change colors is very similar. So it's quite clear that future was based off of Exeter, and I believe that one of the future client devs actually admitted to using this Exeter as a base. I have no idea what version they did, and I believe that they have rewritten most of the code. I don't know, it's impossible for me to say because future is closed source. But apparently they did base the client on Exeter in its early days, which I think is very interesting. This client doesn't actually have very many modules and they don't seem to work, so I think we'll move on to the next one. We are now back on Minecraft version 1.10, and this is Impact 2.2. So quite an old version of Impact. I actually can't remember what the latest version of Impact is, so I'll put that on screen. But yeah, let's take a look at an older version of Impact. I'm just going to go into Creative, Create New World, and I've got to change this GUI scale. It is terrible. To be honest, I haven't used Impact in a very long time, so I don't actually remember what the Impact UI looks like, or at least the latest version. But you can see all of the modules here, which I think are quite interesting. And it does actually look quite nice. If we go into free cam, I believe this will function like modern clients. It's a little bit buggy, but if we disable that, yeah, we go back. Okay, so that's basically back to like modern client It's been so long since I used Impact. Apparently the modules that are in Impact are really good because the client has such a good base, and the code was done really well. Again, I haven't really looked into that or know too much about it, so I can't confirm or deny that, but I thought it was an interesting fact nonetheless. Let's try their flight. Let's see what that's like. Now, do these have settings? None of the other clients have had settings so far. Okay, so this client does have settings. That's quite cool. That has not made it faster. Mineplex. That's quite funny. I don't associate Minecraft Impact with like Mineplex and Hypixel. We are now back on Minecraft version 1.12.2, and we have loaded up with a cracked version, an old cracked version of the RusherHack client. I don't believe that I actually owned the client when it was on this version. This is version B8. And the client has been completely rewritten since this version was cracked or released, I guess. And so the client looks completely different now, and I don't recognize this at all. I must have purchased the client after this version, but it's interesting to see how it used to look. I'm not a huge fan of the way that these settings work, where you have the little button here and you click and it opens settings. This really does feel like a different client to like modern RusherHack. But it's interesting to look at. I'm not going to go through all the modules. Some of them work, some of them have settings, some of them don't. That has a lot of settings. I'm not really like testing the modules in these clients, which maybe I should do, but I thought it was more just interesting to look at them and see if they work and see how they used to look and the modules that they used to have. But it's very, very interesting to look into the past like this. But anyways, that is enough rambling and looking at old clients for today. If you guys have any old clients or ratted clients that you want me to try or take a look at, please let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like. If you did not enjoy it, please consider leaving a dislike to let me know. Thanks for watching, guys. It has been your boy KiLAB. Peace in the Middle East.